Hey guys, welcome to the Convo Couch. I'm Sun, and today we've got Kailesh Reitmans.
Hi guys, I'm Kailesh, composer, sound designer and musician. Great to be here.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. It's an old adage, it's cliche, but by doing. You can't improve in theory, you can't improve in practice. You need to do things. You actually need to, you can't think about them, you actually have to do them. So there's this thing of staying home and getting good. And that's what I try to do in my spare time. When I'm not working on something specifically, I'll be researching a piece of software, I'll be researching a new synth, a new mixing technique. I'll be reading an orchestration book. I'll be just listening to new scores that I haven't listened to before. Reading a blog post, something like that. Anything really which is enhancing your development. Because it's, we all like to procrastinate, I do. But we can just fill our time with things that are really, really, really beneficial. And not just for the sake of it, but really incentivized focused learning. So I try to do that in my spare time. And so you're always just learning something new. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's new. But really great growth, I think, comes from actually working on projects. So in 2017, I was just searching around Google for a composition competition, something just to enter. I just wanted to get some music out there, and I came across something called the Artology Fanfare Competition. And what it was for young composers to write a 30-second piece of orchestral music, a fanfare, something big. And that was it. Just 30 seconds of big fanfare orchestral music. And the deadline was not that far away. I sort of discovered it quite late, and I thought, oh, what the hell, I'll submit something. I'll do up a score. I'll create a mock-up, an orchestral mock-up, something to send, an audio file, and I don't know. I'll see what happens. I just put it out there and didn't think much more of it. Then I get an email or a call back. I can't remember. From the lady running the competition saying, hey, we really liked your piece of music. You're being selected as one of 8 composers to have your piece workshopped, performed and recorded actually by the Australian Youth Orchestra at Trackdown Studios next to Afters. And I thought, shit, that's amazing. I didn't expect it, but it was awesome. Got to meet all the other young composers there and the 2 composers who were workshopping us. And just the whole infrastructure around the competition was really, really, really supportive. So that was an amazing experience. I actually got a real piece of music recorded by a real orchestra. And that's kind of the ultimate, really. When at the recording session, sitting there in front of the musicians and just praying that you printed every part right, there was nothing unplayable. I mean, we had a couple of workshops and the experienced composers had gone through our scores, so in theory nothing should have gone wrong, and it didn't. But I actually misprinted one of my parts and I had to handwrite something out for one of the horn players, and they were great about it. But it's just, when other people are relying on you and it all comes together, even in a very safe environment, it's quite nerve-wracking. But that's an invaluable experience.
Do you have a preference over, say, screen composition versus live theatre?
I guess both have their merits, and I like doing both. I think the nice thing with screen composition is that you can take something for a show reel. You can show, here's an example of my work, and it's sort of locked in stone. There's this piece of art, really, and you can fine tweak it and make everything perfect the way that you want it, and it'll play and it's the same every time. But then again, with live theatre, it can be different every night, and you get the audience reaction, and it's performing. So it's completely different in that regard. And I've used a lot of sound from stuff that I've created for live theatre for other things. It's great. You can still reuse your music, and it's really good. But I think, film just has that aspect of it where it's highly curated. You have this almost limitless bound of creativity because you can stop and pause. Nothing needs to be done in real time. You can really curate things and produce things in a way to make them very heightened. Whereas on stage, you have to be a bit more clever in the way that you convey your creative ideas, because it's happening live. It's just what you see, and that's it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it sounds like you've been very fluid across different genres. So you've done orchestra, you've done jazz, contemporary, and you've done a lot of produced sounds as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's sort of I've dabbled, and I have so much to learn in those areas. And each time I try to go into a genre, there's this incredibly steep learning curve, and it goes on forever. So I still have so much to learn in every single one of these genres, but it's more of an ongoing process. So I regularly try to improve my orchestral writing. I regularly try to improve my producing and my jazz playing. So those are kind of the areas that I'm working on the most. So that's just where I've had the most experience and where I have the most passion, and I try to keep following those genres specifically because they're quite I think they're really as a composer they're kind of orchestral music and production is really a staple which you have to have as a modern composer. So working on them constantly it's an absolute must. And if you blend that in with your creative impulses and trying to listen to many different scores and not trying to be too mainstream in the sense that you're not trying to follow what everyone else has done necessarily, which is great and it's still important to do, but trying to find your own voice more so, which only comes through a lot of experimentation and a lot of time, and also knowing the craft well. So there's kind of the craft and then there's the inspiration side of it. And so trying to blend the two together is what I spend my time trying to do. I don't think you can ever say, yes, I found my voice, this is it, I'm good. I don't need to do anything more. It's a bit more complex than that. I feel that when I'm writing, it's more so that I feel like I am expressing myself uniquely. I mean, not in everything I write. Sometimes you write things for a very standard purpose, and it's less so of that inherent artistic expression. It's more just music for a purpose. But I think it really comes from doing. As I said, I play a lot of piano and singing and all that sort of thing. Not technically, but just experimenting. And so when you experiment and when you do things, when you listen to other people's music and you synthesize that and you experiment with yourself, that's when you're more likely to find your own voice. So that's in a I guess a musical sense, a theoretical sense, a harmonic sense, and then there's the sound. What is your sound? Which is dealing more with the production side of things, which requires the same amount of experimentation, time, and attention to detail and procedural process that the more musical side requires. So I listen really critically to people's scores who I admire, really experienced film composers who produce music that I find to be really, really, really wonderful and inspiring. I listen critically to their sound and I think, how would they have done that? And I watch how other people do techniques, forums and YouTube videos, you name it. Everything's out there to witness. And you synthesize that information, and I experiment with some of that myself. I try some of those techniques, but inherently, if you're doing something with your own twist on it, it's going to be unique. So I think a lot of people try to sometimes create a specific sound because it's a great sound, it's popular, or it's just widely done. But instead, I think using popular techniques, but in a way that's unique to yourself, that can sort of create your own sound. Because there are so many possible combinations and permutations of how do we create anything, really. It doesn't matter if you're an artist, a filmmaker, a composer, a dancer, a singer. There's limitless factors which go into doing what we do. So the trick to I think, at least what I've found so far and what's worked for me so far in creating my own sound is using well-trusted techniques that others have used, personal experimentation, but also going out and experimenting with my own sounds, which means that, recording that old sort of out-of-tune piano that I have, or that weird piece of metal, slowing it down, and something that no one else would ever have. No one else has that piano that I have. No one has that piece of wood, that weird instrument, that weird combination. No one has that except me. And that's the same for everyone. You can find that thing which is personal to you.
And who are some of the composers that you mentioned were the pinnacle for you?
Well, for me, I mean, everyone in film music, Hans Zimmer is the god.
Okay.
I really a big mix. I love John Powell as well. Great composer with a huge range of stuff from Ice Age to like, you know, The Italian Job, and like just a huge range of stuff. Obviously John Williams again, Jaws, Star Wars, E.T., Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park, Harry Potter, you know, all the big ones. That inspires everyone. I really love slightly more modern stuff as well, like scores by Junkie XL. Really good stuff. He did like Mad Max. And he does an amazing YouTube series as well, where he goes into his studio and he explains. He shows everything that he does, and I love watching his process. And he's got a really nice sound, a really big sound that sort of challenges the way that I would normally go about things. So composers like that, then going back to sort of more orchestral music, John Barry, beautiful lush orchestral scores to like Out of Africa, amazing, beautiful music. So you've got those more traditional film composers who, of those that I mentioned, and so many more. These are just the first ones that come to my head that are just super just gorgeous music. And then sort of more modern composers who combine that production elements that really gets you thinking. You think, wow, how did they create that sound? So yeah, there are tons of them out there. I've only just mentioned a few, but yeah, all of them.
Okay, so you're waking up in the morning. You're feeling very tired.
Alright, can we end it there? Hey guys, thanks for hanging with us on the Convo Couch. Make sure to check out Kailesh's work in the links below and subscribe for more episodes. See ya!
Bye! Hi guys, it would be awesome if you could check out my website in the link below. There's links on my website to my Instagram and SoundCloud where you can hear some of my music. I'm just about to actually enter a show run with a show called The Cripple of Inishmaan, which is going to be on at the Old Fitz Theatre next month. So if you could check that out, that would be brilliant. Also, if you're ever after a jazz or contemporary duo, I perform with my girlfriend Demi, and you can check us out on YouTube right here as well. So yeah, thanks guys.
Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and check out Shades of Your Seduction, a short film by BLUESANYU Films, composed by none other than Kailesh Reitmans.
Thank you.